I think my favorite genre right now is roguelite, which is basically a roguelike with a progression system. I like this because if I take a break from the game and come back to it, I still have that permanent progress that I made, even if the game isn't fresh in my mind. And it means regardless of my skill, I'll still be progressing at least somewhat. My current favorite roguelite is Heroes of Hammerwatch. It was originally on PC, but then came to consoles, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and Switch as an Ultimate Edition, with all of the DLC included. I don't play PC games usually, so I love when this happens. It's a game I never got to experience until it finally came to consoles as this Ultimate Edition, so there's lots of content to get through. Two things I love about this particular roguelite is that there is a ton of progression in many different areas. There's character progression, building up your town, and other permanent buffs that can be applied, which means it'll keep me busy for a very long time. And second, that progression happens very quickly, so you feel like you're accomplishing a lot right from the start. For me, that is really important because if I feel like I'm not making enough progress early on, I'll most likely put the game down with intentions of getting back to it. So Heroes of Hammerwatch is a top-down twin-stick hack and slash that you can play solo or online co-op up to 4 players at once. It's a mix of Diablo and Gauntlet with some roguelike mechanics and procedurally generated dungeons. So first of all, you'll need to create a character. You have several different character classes to choose from. Some of these will be locked from the start, but eventually as you upgrade your town, you'll unlock more classes. And you'll want to come back here to make a character of each class eventually anyway, because as you advance each of your characters, they will provide permanent buffs for all of your other characters. In the beginning, you'll only have a few options to choose from in creating your character, but as you explore the dungeons, you'll unlock new colors to choose from for clothing, armor, hair, or skin. Don't worry too much about designing the perfect character right now because you can always change your appearance later on. So this is what your town will look like at first, but as you progress, you'll upgrade your town and add new buildings. Some buildings can only be unlocked after rescuing their owners from the dungeons. Dungeons which are randomized, so each time you make your way through, it'll be a little bit different. Now, as I said, this is a roguelite. When you perish, you will retain all of your experience and levels, but you'll lose your items and resources. However, during your descent, there will be dumbwaiters every few floors that you can use to send your resources back to town for a small fee. The gold and resources that you have back in town are shared between all of your characters, and they can be used for permanent upgrades, things like defense and attack strength at the armory, more potions with stronger effects at the apothecary, skill upgrades at the trainer, pets that will help you pick up gold and resources, town upgrades, and so much more. I love that the golden resources are shared between all of your characters because this means if you're starting a new character, you don't have to start from absolute scratch. You have that same pool of money you can pull from to upgrade some of your stats, and that new character will be in your upgraded town. The general store in town also has some additional items which are cheaper, but they'll only last you for one run through the dungeons, things like keys and then other items that give you buffs. The potions that you own will automatically be refilled before every descent and can be refilled at fountains that you randomly find in the dungeons. If you just look through like the guild menu or some of the player menus, you'll see a lot of different stuff here. There are so many different accomplishments for you to try to complete. There's basically one for just about everything you can do in the game. If you complete enough of these accomplishments, you'll earn a new guild title, which will give you a significant bonus of gold and other resources. And remember how I was saying you might want to create a character of each class for some permanent buffs? Well, with each new boss you defeat, your character will rank up, and as you rank up, that character will provide stronger buffs for all of your other characters. For example, a priest will give everyone health regeneration. A warlock will give everyone magic defense, and the paladin will give everyone additional physical defense after you beat that first boss, and then each boss thereafter will increase that buff. so you'll want to try to make it through as many bosses as you can with each of the character classes. Now beyond those bosses, you can also continually rank up and increase the buffs by completing New Game Plus, New Game Plus 2, Plus 3, infinitely until the game becomes too difficult. In the dungeons, you'll also come across trap rooms, which will award you with a treasure for making it through. Now, don't forget to hit the switch at the end of the trap room to shut it down so you can make your way safely back. There are also secret rooms to discover, puzzle rooms, and hidden switches to open doors. Every 4th floor is a boss battle. Now, as I've said, you can play solo or up to 4 players online co-op. Unfortunately, there is no local co-op. If you don't have any friends to join you, then there are public matches too, and it definitely helps to have other players working together, especially players of different classes. In co-op mode, everyone gets the same amount of ore and gold anytime someone picks them up, with the exception of buffs. For example, if you have a buff that gives you plus 10% gold, then obviously you'll get extra gold, but that isn't taken away from other players. It's just an added bonus onto your own gold. When you open a chest that has a random item in it, then each player gets their own random item from that chest. So you never need to worry about someone hoarding treasure in co-op mode. Another benefit to co-op is that if someone perishes, they can be resurrected one time by another player through soul linking. When this happens, both players will be soul linked, so if either one of you loses all your health, then you'll both go down. Sometimes that one extra resurrection is all you need just to make it to a dumbwaiter to save your resources. You can kind of see how it feels like Gauntlet sometimes with that very zoomed out top-down view, especially when you have 4 players running 4 different character classes. But then it also feels like Diablo in a way with the action RPG elements. And speaking of that zoomed out view though, if you're playing on a Nintendo Switch, it can be a little difficult in handheld mode since everything will appear very small. If you're playing on a regular Switch, then I would recommend playing it docked on a bigger TV, at least in the beginning until you get a feel for everything and what to look for. Then you can switch back to handheld mode. And guys, I haven't even gotten through a quarter of the content here. There are 3 additional DLCs with new towns, dungeons, and additional buffs that you can apply to your characters. There's just a ridiculous amount of content here. I'm actually surprised I hadn't heard of this game until recently, but I'm glad I finally found it. Even Tia is playing it. She's been asking me this whole time to play with her as I've been trying to record footage for this video. Now, one area this game is lacking in is story. Now, I'm not a big story guy anyway. I mostly care about how a game plays. In fact, I tend to skip story elements sometimes, but if you're looking for a story-driven game, this is definitely not that. There's some nice item synergy going on in this game, but so far I haven't had any of those super OP runs that you sometimes get with other roguelites. I think this game relies a lot more on permanent progression, which can feel a bit grindy sometimes, just making multiple runs into the dungeon to collect resources and leveling up. But for me, it's a satisfying grind, and there are a lot of different areas you can focus on too. You can customize your buffs when you enter the dungeon if you want to focus on gold collecting, experience, item collection, or maybe you just want to try to complete some of the accomplishments. Once you've unlocked the fountain in town, it'll allow you to take positive and negative status effects to change aspects of the game in different ways. More negative effects will give you higher gold and experience amounts. Too many positive effects will cost gold. So I try to balance it out, but I love that it lets you save presets here too. I can save one for earning gold, items, or experience. I do have a suggestion for the developers on the rare chance that they actually happen to see this. There is one thing that I would change with the console port. I would make it so that if you aren't aiming with the right stick, the aim guide would automatically disappear and your character would just aim in the direction that you're moving until you start aiming with the right stick again. This would make it look a little nicer when you aren't aiming, and it would make the game a little bit more accessible for people that can maybe only use one hand. Now, you can turn off the aim guide in the options, but this would be nice for people that do still like to use it, or for people that want to aim and move with one stick. Maybe kids that are just getting into the game, or people that just aren't as familiar with using twin sticks. Otherwise, the team did a great job with the port. I can access all of the relevant information pretty easily with just the controller. Oh, actually, one more suggestion. Make a physical version of this game. Most people that play on consoles like to get physical versions of the games, especially, I would say, on the Nintendo Switch. But with the digital version, you are definitely getting your money's worth. So it's available on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox as the Ultimate Edition with all 3 DLCs included for $20 US. There's also the original Hammerwatch game, which I haven't played yet, but that's only $10 US. And on PSN and Xbox, I found a bundle pack called the Heroic Bundle for $25, which includes both games, Hammerwatch and Heroes of Hammerwatch Ultimate with all of the DLC, which makes an even better deal. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to playing. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, I will see you later.